Did you know that eating certain foods before bedtime could silently set you up for a deadly stroke while you sleep? Studies from the American Heart Association reveal that seniors who consume specific high risk foods in the evening are twice as likely to experience a nighttime stroke compared to those who avoid them. That's right, twice the risk. Imagine lying peacefully in bed, unaware that what you had for dinner just hours ago is thickening your blood, spiking your blood pressure, and increasing clot formation in your arteries. These silent processes can turn a restful night into a medical emergency without any warning. What's even scarier is that some of these foods are considered healthy by most people, and yet they harbor hidden dangers that most doctors fail to mention. But don't worry, you're about to uncover the truth. Stay with me until we get to number one on the list, because it's not only shocking, it's something millions of seniors eat daily thinking it helps them stay fit. But in reality, it's the single most dangerous food that could trigger a stroke in your sleep. Before we dive in, if you care about staying sharp, healthy, and strong as you age, hit that like button and subscribe. And share this with a friend who needs to hear this too. It might change their life. Number 8. Bacon and processed meats. Bacon, sausages, and deli meats might seem like innocent breakfast or dinner choices, but their impact on your arteries is anything but harmless. These foods are packed with sodium nitrites and saturated fats, which can cause massive spikes in blood pressure and lead to the hardening of arteries over time. A study from Harvard School of Public Health showed that seniors who consumed processed meats 4 times a week had a 42% higher risk of ischemic stroke. The danger doesn't stop there. At night, your body's natural blood pressure dip is supposed to help your brain relax and recover. But consuming high-sodium processed meats disrupts this cycle, keeping your blood pressure elevated while you sleep. This means your blood vessels stay constricted, and blood flow to your brain becomes compromised. The result? Clot formation in the narrowed vessels that can block oxygen delivery, setting the stage for a stroke during your most vulnerable hours. The saturated fats in these meats also increase levels of LDL cholesterol, often referred to as bad cholesterol. High LDL leads to plaque buildup in the arteries, a condition called atherosclerosis. When you're lying down at night, this plaque is more likely to rupture because of fluctuating blood flow patterns, leading to clot formation. Imagine your arteries as tiny highways filled with traffic jams caused by sticky, fatty plaques. One small rupture can trigger a cascade of clotting that completely blocks the flow of blood to part of your brain. That's when a stroke happens, and the scary part is, during sleep, you won't notice the warning signs until it's too late. Number 7. Refined carbohydrates and sugary snacks. Late-night snacking on cookies, pastries, or even white bread might sound comforting, but it's one of the riskiest habits for your brain health. Refined carbohydrates are stripped of fiber and nutrients, which causes them to break down into sugar rapidly. This leads to a surge in blood sugar levels followed by a crash, wreaking havoc on your insulin response. Research published in Neurology found that people with high glycemic diets had a 36% increased risk of stroke, especially if their blood sugar remained unstable at night. Why does this happen during sleep? When your blood sugar spikes, your body produces more insulin to bring it down. This fluctuation causes oxidative stress and inflammation in your blood vessels, making them more prone to damage. Your blood becomes thicker and stickier, which increases the likelihood of clot formation. Combine that with the fact that sleep naturally slows your circulation, and you have a perfect storm for a stroke. To make matters worse, sugar feeds harmful gut bacteria, leading to increased production of endotoxins that can leak into your bloodstream. These toxins have been linked to endothelial dysfunction, a condition where the lining of your blood vessels doesn't work properly, making it easier for clots to form. Think about it this way. Every cookie or slice of white bread you eat before bed is like rolling a dice where the stakes are your brain's health. Even occasional indulgence, especially in seniors with already weakened blood vessels, can tip the balance toward a catastrophic event. Number 6. Fried foods and trans fats. If you thought grabbing some fries or fried chicken for dinner is harmless as long as you go to bed on time, think again. Fried foods are loaded with trans fats, the notorious artery-clogging fats that health experts have been warning us about for decades. The American Heart Association clearly states that trans fats increase LDL cholesterol and lower HDL cholesterol, the good kind that helps keep arteries clear. But here's the kicker: the danger doesn't end there. Trans fats also trigger systemic inflammation, a key driver of blood clot formation. At night, while your body should be resting and repairing, the inflammatory response from trans fats keeps your blood vessels irritated and inflamed. Imagine tiny cracks forming in your arteries as they struggle against this constant low-level inflammation. Now add thickened blood from poor circulation during sleep, and the risk of a clot lodging in a narrowed artery skyrockets. Studies have shown that consuming as little as 2% of daily calories from trans fats increases stroke risk by up to 30%. That's an alarming statistic for seniors, many of whom unknowingly consume trans fats through fast food, margarine, and even some baked goods. Another hidden danger comes from acrylamide, a toxic compound formed when starchy foods are fried at high temperatures. Acrylamide has been linked to oxidative stress in neurons and vascular damage. For seniors whose vascular systems are already less flexible, the cumulative damage from years of fried food indulgence can turn a simple bedtime meal into a stroke waiting to happen. Picture your arteries like rubber bands that have lost their elasticity. Instead of flexing and adapting to blood flow changes at night, they stiffen and crack under pressure, leaving you vulnerable. Number 5. Cheese and full-fat dairy products. Cheese may feel like a comforting snack before bed, especially for seniors who rely on it for a quick source of protein and calcium. But the truth is, full-fat dairy products like cheese, cream, and whole milk can silently sabotage your vascular health. These foods are rich in saturated fats and dietary cholesterol, which contribute to arterial plaque buildup. A European study published in Stroke found that individuals with high saturated fat intake had a 44% increased risk of stroke, and the effect was even more pronounced in those over 60. When you consume cheese late at night, the saturated fat content elevates your triglyceride levels, a type of fat in your blood that has been directly associated with increased stroke risk. Elevated triglycerides at bedtime disrupt your lipid metabolism during sleep, leading to thicker, more viscous blood. This makes it harder for blood to flow smoothly through your narrowed arteries, setting the stage for clot formation. Adding to the problem, many cheeses are also high in sodium, which can exacerbate nighttime hypertension, a condition where blood pressure fails to drop during sleep. This phenomenon, known as non-dipping blood pressure, has been shown in studies to double the risk of both ischemic and hemorrhagic strokes. So, while cheese might help you fall asleep faster due to its tryptophan content, it's also quietly increasing your chances of waking up to a medical crisis. For seniors, this creates a dangerous cycle. Plaque. Ridden arteries from years of high saturated fat intake become brittle and prone to rupture. When the body's natural repair processes slow down with age, the damage accumulates until one day, during sleep, a clot forms and cuts off blood flow to part of the brain. The result is a stroke that can leave devastating consequences before you even open your eyes. If this is helpful so far, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more science-backed tips to keep you thriving at any age. And hey, share it with someone you love so they can make smarter choices too. Number 4. Red meat. Red meat has long been a staple in many diets, but for seniors, it's one of the stealthiest stroke risk factors, especially when eaten at night. Beef, lamb, and pork are high in heme iron, which has been linked to oxidative stress in the vascular system. When heme iron breaks down, it promotes the formation of free radicals, unstable molecules that damage cells, including the delicate lining of your blood vessels. This damage weakens arterial walls, making them more prone to plaque buildup and rupture. A landmark study from the British Medical Journal found that people who consumed the most red meat had a 23% higher risk of stroke compared to those who ate the least. For seniors, the risk is magnified because aging arteries are already less flexible and more susceptible to these damaging effects. At night, your metabolism slows, meaning fats from red meat stay in your bloodstream longer. This prolonged circulation of saturated fats increases the likelihood of clot formation while you sleep. Think of it like pouring thick grease down a narrow pipe. Over time, that grease sticks to the walls and hardens, narrowing the flow until one day it clogs completely. That's exactly what happens in your arteries. Add to this the fact that many red meat dishes are seasoned with high sodium marinades or gravies, and you've got a perfect recipe for nighttime hypertension, a known stroke trigger. Seniors with a history of high blood pressure or cholesterol are especially vulnerable to this deadly combination. Number 3. Energy drinks and caffeinated beverages. This might surprise you, but even beverages can dramatically increase your stroke risk if consumed later in the day. Energy drinks, strong coffee, and even certain teas contain high levels of caffeine and stimulants like taurine and guarana, which can spike blood pressure and heart rate. A study in Stroke Journal showed that consuming more than 200 milligrams of caffeine in the evening doubled the likelihood of nocturnal blood pressure surges in older adults. Caffeine constricts blood vessels, increasing vascular resistance. For a senior whose arteries may already be narrowed by years of plaque buildup, this constriction can dangerously reduce blood flow to the brain. Combined with the dehydrating effect of caffeine, which thickens the blood, it creates ideal conditions for a clot to form and travel to the brain during sleep. Energy drinks are even worse. They contain added sugars and stimulants that lead to oxidative stress and inflammation, attacking the endothelium, the thin membrane lining your blood vessels. Endothelial dysfunction is a key player in stroke development as it prevents proper blood flow regulation. Seniors who think an evening coffee or energy drink will help them stay alert for late-night activities may unknowingly be setting themselves up for a potentially fatal event. The scariest part: these effects can linger for hours, meaning even an afternoon cup of coffee can impact your stroke risk at night. Number 2. Salted snacks and instant noodles. Salted snacks like chips, pretzels, and instant noodles might seem harmless, but they're loaded with sodium, often more than an entire day's recommended intake in a single serving. Sodium is a silent killer because it draws water into your bloodstream, increasing the volume of blood and putting extra pressure on your arteries. This pressure damages the inner walls, making them more likely to develop microtears that invite cholesterol and other materials to form plaques. A study from the Journal of Hypertension found that people who consume more than 3,500 milligrams of sodium daily are 50% more likely to suffer a stroke. For seniors, this is even more dangerous because their kidneys are less efficient at excreting excess sodium, causing fluid retention and sustained high blood pressure. Eating salty foods before bed means your body spends the night working harder to manage this sodium overload, which can disrupt your natural blood pressure dip. Instant noodles pose a double threat. Not only are they high in sodium, but they also contain unhealthy fats and preservatives that increase inflammation. Seniors who rely on instant meals for convenience may not realize that the combination of sodium and trans fats creates a perfect storm for stroke. Imagine your arteries as overinflated balloons. With each bite of salty food, the pressure builds until one weak spot gives way, leading to a devastating stroke while you're fast asleep. Number 1. Butter and margarine. Here it is, the single most dangerous food when it comes to raising your risk of stroke while you sleep. Butter and margarine may seem like harmless spreads, but for seniors, they're far from benign. Packed with saturated fats, trans fats, and high levels of cholesterol, these common kitchen staples wreak havoc on your cardiovascular system in ways few people realize. Let's break it down. When you consume butter or margarine, the saturated fats increase LDL cholesterol and promote the accumulation of sticky plaques inside your arteries. These plaques not only narrow the vessels, but also make them more rigid and brittle. During sleep, your blood flow naturally slows, and in arteries already narrowed by plaque, this can lead to pooling and clot formation. A study in Circulation showed that people with high trans fat intake had a 47% greater risk of ischemic stroke, and margarine remains a hidden source of these harmful fats despite food labeling reforms. What's more alarming is that many seniors use butter or margarine late in the evening, whether on toast, baked potatoes, or as part of dessert recipes. This late-night intake leads to elevated triglycerides at bedtime, which are associated with nocturnal hypertension and endothelial dysfunction, two key drivers of stroke events during sleep. Imagine your blood as honey trying to flow through a cracked, narrowing pipe. One small clot can lodge in these damaged areas, cutting off oxygen to your brain in a matter of minutes. Recent research also points to the role of oxidized fats in these spreads. When heated, the unsaturated fats in margarine oxidize into harmful compounds that trigger systemic inflammation. For seniors whose antioxidant defenses are weaker with age, this inflammation becomes a silent killer, damaging blood vessels and promoting clot formation. The worst part: this danger is compounded by the fact that many seniors believe switching from butter to margarine is a healthier choice, unaware of the trans fats and chemical additives lurking inside. It's a deadly misconception that could lead to a stroke while they sleep soundly, never realizing their choice of spread played a role. If you've been eating these foods late in the day, you're not alone. Millions of seniors unknowingly increase their stroke risk each night simply by sticking to familiar habits. But the good news is, it's never too late to make a change. Start by replacing high sodium, high fat, and processed foods with healthier options like fresh fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and whole grains. These foods not only protect your arteries, but also promote restful sleep without the hidden dangers. Your brain depends on smooth, uninterrupted blood flow to function. Protecting it starts with the choices you make at the dinner table. So, the next time you're reaching for that evening snack or planning your dinner, remember, your arteries don't get a break at night. What you eat now could determine whether you wake up tomorrow feeling refreshed or don't wake up at all. If you found this eye-opening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. You never know, it could be the nudge someone else needs to take control of their health today. Now, we want to hear from you. Which of these 8 foods surprised you the most as a stroke risk? Or have you already made changes to your diet to protect your brain health? Share with us your experiences and opinions in the comments below. We love to hear them. Thanks for watching.